The dark truth. Why being a samurai in Imperial Japan was a horrible life. When you think of samurai, images of noble warriors, honor-bound to their lords, ready to fight to the death for their cause, probably come to mind. But behind the romanticized portrayal of these iconic figures lies a brutal reality that's far from glamorous. Being a samurai in Imperial Japan was, in fact, a grueling and often miserable existence. From the moment they could walk, future samurai were thrust into a world of relentless physical and mental training. Every day was a grueling cycle of mastering the katana, perfecting martial arts, and honing combat tactics. The intense physical demands took a toll on their bodies, leading to chronic pain and injuries that haunted them throughout their lives. There was no room for weakness. Any sign of vulnerability could mark them as unfit for the harsh realities of war. Take, for instance, the training regimen of the famous swordsman Yagyu Munenori, who began his martial arts training as a child and was pushed to physical extremes to achieve mastery. Such intense training often left lifelong scars, both physical and psychological. The Bushido Code, often glorified as the ultimate warrior's way, was a double-edged sword. It demanded absolute loyalty, honor, and discipline, qualities that, if not upheld, could lead to disgrace and death. The pressure to embody these ideals was immense. A single misstep, a moment of perceived cowardice or dishonor, could result in seppuku, the ritual suicide designed to restore lost honor. For example, the famous story of the 47 Ronin, who avenged their lord's death but were then forced to commit seppuku, highlights the rigid and unforgiving nature of the Bushido Code. Another tragic case is that of General Nogi Marisuke, who, despite his military successes, felt so bound by the code of Bushido that he committed seppuku after Emperor Meiji's death as an act of loyalty and atonement for perceived past failures. Samurai were expected to serve their feudal lords, daimyos, without question, which often meant being thrown into countless battles. These were not noble duels, but bloody, chaotic conflicts where survival was never guaranteed. The reality of war was brutal. Friends and comrades were lost, and the horrors of battle left deep psychological scars. For many samurai, the prospect of dying in battle was less about glory and more about sheer survival. The Sengoku period, a time of nearly constant warfare in Japan, saw countless samurai die in battles that often seemed futile and senseless. The Battle of Okehazama in 1560 is a prime example, where Oda Nobunaga's forces, though victorious, witnessed the sheer savagery and chaos of samurai warfare, with hundreds of men losing their lives in mere hours. Another example is the Siege of Osaka in 1615, where samurai on both sides fought in brutal conditions, leading to the massacre of thousands. Samurai were not just warriors. They were also public figures whose every action was scrutinized by society. They were expected to uphold a strict moral code, maintain a dignified appearance, and avoid any behavior that could bring shame. This constant pressure to appear perfect in the eyes of others left little room for personal freedom. Even minor indiscretions could lead to severe punishment, stripping them of their status, their honor, and in some cases, their lives. The story of Saito Dosan, a samurai who rose to power but was eventually betrayed and killed by his own son, illustrates how treacherous and unforgiving the samurai life could be. Similarly, the case of Asano Naganori, the daimyo who was disgraced and ordered to commit seppuku after a minor altercation at the shogun's court, shows how a single misstep could lead to devastating consequences. Contrary to popular belief, not all samurai lived in luxury. Many were low-ranking warriors who struggled to make ends meet. They had to manage small plots of land or rely on stipends from their lords, which were often insufficient. In times of peace, when war spoils were scarce, many samurai faced financial difficulties, leading to debt and poverty. The image of the wealthy, powerful samurai was a reality for only a select few. For the rest, economic survival was a daily battle. During the Edo period, many samurai became ronin, or masterless warriors, and were forced to take on menial jobs or even turn to banditry to survive. The story of Miyamoto Musashi, one of the most famous ronin, reflects the harsh reality for many samurai who, without a lord, wandered the country, living by the sword and often facing poverty and isolation. The mental toll of living as a samurai was immense. The constant readiness for battle, the looming threat of death, and the pressure to maintain honor weighed heavily on their minds. Many samurai lived in a state of anxiety, always prepared to fight or die at a moment's notice. The psychological trauma they endured was often ignored, as they were expected to embody stoicism and strength at all times. But beneath the surface, many struggled with the invisible wounds of their harsh lives. The story of Saigo Takamori, known as the last true samurai, who led a doomed rebellion against the Meiji government and ultimately chose to die in battle rather than surrender, highlights the deep internal conflict many samurai faced between their traditional values and the changing world around them. The life of a samurai was far from the romanticized image of honor and glory. It was a harsh existence filled with relentless training, societal pressure, constant warfare, financial hardship, and psychological torment. While the samurai are often celebrated as the ultimate warriors, the truth is that their lives were marked by unimaginable difficulties. The next time you think of the samurai, remember that behind the armor and the sword was a life of sacrifice, suffering, and a harsh reality that few would envy.